a lot of shirts that are not Falcon related. It really should.
What?
I
He's
see a
not
lot of
paying
shirts that are
attention.
not Falcon related. Like, if you're gonna wear a logo, could you at least wear the Falcons?
It's college,
Okay.
it's college day Wednesday.
All of our live streams.
Maybe
are
permission,
for you.
okay.
Hey, we've got no issues.
Thank you.
The time is now 6 o'clock, and we will call the regular meeting to order. The board was in executive session, so we've already approved the agenda and the Pledge of Allegiance. So we will go right into approval of the minutes from February 7th, February 12th, and February 21st. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, I move that we approve the minutes for all three meetings.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll aye to February 21st, but since I was not involved on the 27th, rather.
On the
excuse
7th
me,
and the 12th?
The 7th and the 12th, I'll abstain from those.
Thank you. Next up is informational reports. We'll start with Dr. J.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, and guests. Thank you all for being here. I have a lot of items to share today. Very excited about a lot of things going on in our district. First off, I want to congratulate our FHHS band for their latest excellent rating. They have now qualified to move on to a state competition. Again, when we look at where our band has been the last few years, the addition of Mr. Gardner coming in as our band director, it has just been fantastic. And every time I walk into the music room, they just sound better and better every time. So they continue to do their great work. We'll give you an update on how they do moving forward, but just great things going on in FHHS band and middle school band. It's got a lot of students ready to move up and take some spots there. They're going to open up with graduation. Second, I want to give some congratulations to Jamie Sunshine, a long-time 17-year English teacher, is been nominated for the Hall of Fame, the River of Time Museum's Hall of Fame. That's quite an honor. We also have a former teacher in Cindy Couture who's also going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So we want to thank Jamie for all the time he's spent here in Fountain Hills, and what a great honor. So we're very proud of Jamie for his work. Also, Dr. Wheeldryer had her principals list and honor roll this past week, and we had over 100 students recognized out of around 225 on the campus, so a huge number of kids that are making that principal list and honor roll. And she had a great turnout from parents, and it was just a nice event. We have these at each level. High schools did their first one. Now that they're getting into term 3, they'll be having theirs coming up soon. We had the Teddy Bear Parade over at Little Falcons Preschool, and special thanks to Leah and her team for putting that on. These are some pictures from the event, and the kids, you can see we got Woody there and Spider-Man, and we had a lot of parents show up. We had a lot of families come. Some feedback I received is that it's hard to make a great event even better, but one thing we might look at next year is having the parade at McDowell Mountain so that we can have parents visit the campus and get more people outside cheering on the kids as they're coming around in their parade. So excellent job. These are the fun moments of what we do here in Fountain Hills School District. The library is complete, about 97%. There's a few things that still need to be touched up, but it turned out amazing. If you go back to the virtual tour, it feels like you're in that software program. So Orcutt Winslow's depiction of it and the reality are almost identical. So it looks amazing. The moon cover is an actual image of the moon from NASA. And you can see the millwork was put in. That cabinet covers up the air conditioner and some of the fans that work in the dome to make it work accordingly. It does not pop. I just want to make sure people understand it's not a big balloon. There is a steel frame under it. It's a geodesic dome frame. And so we're very happy with that. And we also have this big piece of millwork in the front, which will have iPads and different opportunities for kids to do some technology in there, or also be able to work on something. And you can see the door is off to the right there on the right side. So in the back, there's a large 105-inch TV. So special thanks to Peter and Teresa Conti and the Fountain Hills PTO for making this dome possible. The furniture arrived today, so now it will seat 60 kids at one time in there, which is a couple of classrooms at a time. And then on the back side, we have the 105-inch touchscreen TV that was donated by the Vernon C. Johnson Foundation. So special thanks to Dwight Johnson and his family for always providing new things to our district. We also have our last piece of playground equipment in. So this was yesterday. Today it now has the brown cover over the top that makes it match all the other pieces. That's the 4-inch foam that if they fall, that it breaks their fall and is the safety flooring. This piece of equipment finalizes it. It is the most amazing playground I've seen. In fact, both companies are coming out to take pictures as marketing materials for it. So the kids are very excited. This one will open Friday, and all of them will now be open as of Friday. So the kids have been, imagine watching these over the last 3 months being put together and having to wait. It's been really hard for the kids, but they've done a great job with that. Lastly, or a couple other things here, we had our ACT exam, so the special thanks to Chris, Jessica, and Evelyn for putting that on. This is ACT test number 1. We decided this year to really push hard on the ACT exam. That is our state test as well. We have an ACT prep class. Now we take it as soon as the ACT prep class ends, and then they'll take it again in April. And the idea behind this is the students can now get a super score based on both of their results. The kids took it very seriously. One thing I think they saw is how fast time goes in these tests, and we're hoping that by taking it one time in advance, that the second time they'll pace themselves a little bit better and hopefully have better scores each time that they take it. This is nice for parents because you do not now have to go out on a Saturday, go to a school you're unaware of, pay for it. This is all covered by the district, and it's done during the school day, which is very nice. So special thanks to the high school team. We also are pushing really hard, grades 6 through 12, for parents to put their child's cell phone numbers into PowerSchool. So in the event of emergency, we can text those students, especially our off-campus students. Do not come back if there was an emergency. Stay off campus. If they're on campus in an area where they can't hear the intercoms, this would be another way to communicate with them because they always have their phones with them or their smartwatch, whatever it is. We haven't had as many responses on this as I'd like, so I want to continue to encourage parents. Would only be used for emergency response, so you won't get texts about prom tickets or yearbooks or anything like that. But colleges do this, and we do believe this is the right way to go for grades 6 through 12. And then lastly, an update on the marquee. So the marquee is in at the middle school district office. John, at the time, had elected not to do the electrical through the sign company. It was a good decision because we have gotten multiple bids on the electrical work, and it was much cheaper to do it that way. So right now, Todd Harris is negotiating a final deal with which company he believes is the best for the price. It does require some work, but the price is much more affordable going with a third-party electrical company versus just going with the sign company. So hopefully it'll be up and running soon, but it does look beautiful. And once it's running, it'll look nice. So with that, I conclude my comments.
Thank you. The planetarium, or the planet in the library looks awesome, but I will tell you, I'm really excited to see the books in there.
They're there.
I know. I'm excited for the books. So, I'm excited to see the technology too, but I'm a book person, so. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding Dr. J's report? Okay. Hearing none of those, we will move on to governing board reports, and we'll start with our newest member, Dr. Kowski.
I took a tour of the facilities last week with Dr. J and was very pleased to see that, and I have to admit, inside the planetarium is really pretty awesome, and I'm prone to motion sickness, and I was almost there. So, anyway, that's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Reed?
All right. My kids and I helped at the PBIS store both weeks in between. And I'm just going to tell you guys again how much we love that experience, how much we love working with the kids, and how fun it is to see them come in and get excited about having worked hard to be good so that they can be rewarded. And it's really awesome. And then even the kids that come in that don't have a lot, there's some things that they can get. And so it's neat to see them be motivated to work hard and meet the expectations. And I would challenge people to get involved because it's so fulfilling. I made it to the coffee with Wheel Dryer and the coffee with Kevin. I missed the high school, I'm sorry about that one. But I love how in those settings you see people that are stepping up with ideas or coming up with people that wanted to volunteer at the elementary school once they found out all the opportunities. They were like, how do we sign up? And so, I'm excited about that, people wanting to get involved. My kids started baseball, which is a little bit of a tangent, but at their first game, I saw 3 of our elementary school teachers there, and I love that. That's one of the things I love about Fountain Hills is that there's just such a great and close relationship with the staff and with the students. They knew probably 75% of the team, which is how it is for us because, once you're through a couple seasons, you know a bunch of the kids that play. So it was really fun to see them there cheering on both teams since they knew so many kids. And it was Miss Brooks, Miss Cooper, and Miss Butler, which I shout out to them and thank you for coming. And then I was also able to make it, virtually to the Coffee with Kane, which I always appreciate that option. I did have some struggles with the Google Meet, which I don't know, more issues than with Zoom, which was funny. And then I did want to just encourage you, because I know you were pretty discouraged with the bond. You said you'd never go out for another bond after the harassment, and I just wanted to let you know both sides received it. It was a very difficult thing, I think, because of the national atmosphere surrounding public education. I think there is just a lot of pulling apart right now, and that's why I appreciate that we're in a small community and we can do the coming together instead of the pulling apart. And so I appreciate you being very transparent and open with the community and welcoming them into things like the Coffee with Kane where they can have a discussion with you. I think that's awesome.
Thank you. Ms. Acker?
I attended all the coffees with with Kane as well, and all the principals. And being in the elementary school, Kevin asked me if I wanted to see the planetarium. Just like you, as soon as he put something on, I had to sit down. There was just no way I could stand there and watch it. So it's just unbelievable. There's all kinds of things that could be shown on there, and as Kane showed yesterday, you can even get certain things from Netflix, so it's not like we have to pay for all the things, so this is great. I attended the Teddy Bear Parade, which was a lot of fun, and it's not just the kids walking around. When they have the picnic, I love when they grab their little brothers and sisters and hand them sit there, and their parents and grandparents. So it was really nice. And I did come to the Fountain Hills Coalition essay contest. Congratulations. You were sitting at my table, just waiting the whole time. I did it last year too, and I was in tears last year with a few things. This year was not as teary, but it's just incredible. And the writing that the students do is just unbelievable. And everything, it really comes from their heart. I mean, they stand there and actually read this, which is amazing to me because, it's really from deep inside. So it's wonderful. Congratulations to all the kids.
Thank you. I too attended the Coalition Essay Contest. What's your name? Aiden. Aiden was the $1,000 winner, so congratulations. For those who haven't attended, the essay contest is put on by the Fountain Hills Coalition, and they give kids 3 topics. It's a volunteer essay. They don't have to do it. It is encouraged by the English teachers. What I love about it is that a lot of kids write, and they're good writers, but maybe they don't participate because they're worried that they don't have their punctuation right or their grammar right, but it's not about that. It's about the content. And I really appreciate that because so many kids want to express their feelings. and share what they're thinking, but they're afraid to do that because they don't want to be critiqued. And so the coalition doesn't do that. They pick it based on content. And so this year they had 2 third-place winners that each got $100, and they had 1 second-place winner that got $300, and then Aiden got $1,000, which I saw you at the bank later, so hopefully you didn't really spend that on food, like you said. So, and then everybody that was an honorable mention got $50. So thank you to the coalition for hosting that. It's an amazing event every year, and I look forward to attending it. It's one of my favorite events, so I appreciate that. And that's about all I have. So with that, we will move on. Oh, and congratulations to all our spring sports. I've been seeing a lot of winning.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, next up is Stugo. Do we have someone from Stugo? Oh, Aiden
Oh,
is from
it's-
Stugo.
It's everywhere.
Hi, I'm the student body president, Aiden Nguyen, and then all I really have to say right now is we're kind of closing in on the end of the year, and we have 3 main events left, which is prom, graduation, and then senior sunset. So that's all we're really looking forward to right now. And then kind of as supplementary events, we have the Easter egg hunt, which we've probably March 28th or the Thursday before Good Friday, we're going to have that. And then there's going to be a senior versus staff basketball game, which is probably going to be the last week of March too. And then really that's all we're looking forward to right now. So,
Do you guys have a date for prom? Have you released that?
we haven't released it yet, but it is April 13th, and we're likely to release that next week with the prom video that we're working on right now.
Perfect, great. We look forward to hearing your theme and all about it.
Yeah, it'll be a good event, I'd say.
Awesome. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Stugo? Thank you so much, and you can be excused to go do your homework, because I'm sure you have some.
Yeah, I got a lot tonight. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up are the student activity and auxiliary account reports on pages 21 through 28. Are there any questions or comments?
I had a question about the commissions, the negative balance there.
Okay.
Just
Unfortunately, Alicia is no longer here, so
Oh, and we don't have Tyler here either, no.
no.
Well, what we can do is take any questions and get them back to you immediately. So
Yeah, I
if you
just
want to
wondered-
share the question with Krista, she'll get it for you.
I just wondered why that was negative
So
and what the,
it had a beginning balance of $141.90 that was a negative, and then it looks like there was revenue that
For that
it
exact
balanced it
amount.
out, yeah, for that exact amount to give it a 0 balance. So where did they get the revenue? And
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll get that for you.
but I do appreciate that this report is a lot more current, and we don't have those negative balances that we've seen in the past months.
Yeah, we've been working on that.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. The other one is cross-country, that they had a negative balance, but then they had revenue, I'm assuming probably from a fundraiser. And now they're in the positive, but again, if we can just have an update on why it was negative and where the
Sure.
revenue came from.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward to the unaudited financial report on page 29. Are there any questions or comments? Currently, again, I know Alicia's not here, but the maintenance and operation budget is in the negative. The budget balance is in the negative. So if we can just get an explanation on how that'll be rectified.
So M and O and.
This is on the January unaudited financial report. It's the budget controlled account 001. The adopted budget with the year-to-date expenses, then the balance and encumbrances left a negative balance of $557,000.
Yeah, I can, a little bit of that I can speak to, speaking with Tyler, is I believe they're in the process now of grant reimbursements, but he assured me, we met earlier this week, that he knows where we're at and he can give you some updates on that and he'll fill in. Craig here is going to be helping out, so
Yep.
we'll get you more information.
Yeah, no, I would appreciate that. Are there any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move forward to the site council minutes. Are there any questions or comments regarding site council? Okay, hearing none, we will move forward to current enrollment. Dr. J, can you please?
Yeah,
update us
just,
on that?
thank you, Madam President, members of the board and guests. I just wanted to note that although the enrollment looks down, it's actually up. It would really be about 1173, which is pretty high considering that's probably where we started at, with some fluctuation here and there throughout the year, which is a good number because, again, that shows that as the year has gone on, we've either stayed flat or we've grown. And we've seen trends in the past years where, it tends to drop as the year goes on. The reason we have 14 less that's showing 1159 instead of 1173 is that we had 14 students graduate early, which is a good thing that they're through and they finished their completion of work. I just want to explain a little bit how that works. So when we created the trimester schedule, we knew that was a possibility, and the reason it doesn't affect us financially is the fact that we are past the 100th day. So the 100th day is in January, the term ends in February. So actually any new students we get from here on out the rest of the year, we get zero revenue for. The only way we get revenue for them is if they return to us next year. And likewise, if any students withdraw at this point, we don't lose any funding for that either because we've already been funded for the year. So one of the things that's a benefit to our kids in the 3-term system now is if they graduate early, they can now start taking college courses, they can start working, they can save for college, they can leave early to go to college. There's a lot of options that they have. They're still coming back in May to graduate with their class and walk. They're still welcome to come to prom and those types of activities. They would just come as a guest now, which would be a little different, but we can make that work. But I do believe in the end that this is a positive for kids to give them choice. If they're in a sport or they want to stick through the rest of the year, they have that option. So you have 150 kids in the senior class, 14 who chose to finish early, and that gives them that flexibility. One of them I spoke to at the health fair on a few Saturdays ago, put on by Debbie Clayson in the Rotary, and she was a mentor, and she talked about, I asked her after she spoke to the group about how it was going. She said she was graduating early. She told me she really appreciated that fact that she could do that. It's opened up a lot of opportunities for her. So I don't want anyone to panic when you see that number down. I think it is a good thing because we know at least 14 of them are for sure through the door. We know 100 and whatever are coming behind them, but it is a good thing.
I'm just going to say thank you for that clarification because I saw that a bunch of them had graduated, but knowing that they're past the 100th day and that we're not losing any funding is a really important thing, especially when people do see that number and get a little worried.
Yeah, and they're not allowed to take senior government econ or English 12 until their senior year, and that is a hard rule because, again, then we could run into that issue. We have to look at things.
Any other questions regarding the personnel report? Congratulations to those 14 seniors, and we look forward to seeing them walk across the stage along with all the rest of ours. Public comments. Krista, do we have any public comments? Okay, hearing none. We will move forward to action items. First up is the personnel action report, which is very small tonight. We just have 3 supplemental assignments. Are there any questions or comments regarding the personnel report? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion?
I move we approve the personnel report.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up are the payroll vouchers on pages 44 to 46. Are there any questions or comments regarding the payroll vouchers?
Are the ESI payments listed through payroll vouchers or are they listed on check listings? They're check listings, correct?
That would be a
So the
payable.
entire salary is it coming from a different fund or is it kind of under the same fund even
It
though
would
it's
come out
separate?
of M&O.
Okay.
It's like paying a contractor.
Mhm.
So, yeah. Okay. Are there any questions regarding the payroll vouchers? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion? Okay, I'll move that we approve the payroll vouchers.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up are the account payable vouchers on pages 47 through 59. Are there any questions regarding the account payables?
I have a couple questions. The territory and travel for $29,000, I didn't look in the folder and that's on me. What was that one for?
That's the trip they're taking, one of those trips that are
Okay.
out of the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then with the RNA facilities when we contracted them, that included Four Peaks, correct? The Four Peaks building and stuff?
I believe, I'd have to talk to John. I believe that either A, they would be over there from time to time, or B, it would free up our staff, but I'd have to get clarification from him on if that's part of the contract.
Okay. Can we get clarification if that's part of the contract? And then
Yep.
are we verifying that the services are being maintained over there, whether by us or them?
Yeah, the renters are very good at reaching out to me when there is concerns. I had one recently, and John got on it right away, and typically I reach out and make sure it has been completed. So I would like to get to a point where I don't get those kind of emails and it's just taken care of, but when it does, I do ensure it's done.
Okay. Yeah, because if RNA is
I
contracted,
don't
we
believe-
definitely need to get them to do it.
I don't believe they are, and we're going to talk about RNA later tonight.
Okay, I know have been disappointed, so. And then, do we have a total that we've paid towards Orcutt Winslow at this point? And do we know what the balance?
Yes, the
Is-
last number I saw was, I believe there's about 20,000 left, and these are, round numbers.
Yeah.
But I believe the total was 60, and I believe we paid around 40, is my understanding.
Okay.
And I do want to share that all spending in the district is being shut down after spring break unless it's an emergency or something that we have to have. So again, we may have transportation things, or we may have a graduation. I hope no graduation last minute issues, but those happen. I've been in that role. And that's because, one, with Alicia gone, it'll free up our finance team to not be overwhelmed, not having a director every day. And second, it's that time of year that if you didn't need it by now, it's probably not that important. So unless it is important, but let's hold off till next year. So you're going to see less of those payables after spring break.
Okay, and then last one, the 403B cleaning, is that another cleaning company that we're
I think that would
contracting,
be,
or do we?
3B
Is
is
that-
retirement.
it's a
Oh, okay,
retirement
okay.
thing. Yeah.
Maybe it
Oh,
should be clearing.
Oh,
should be
okay,
clear.
maybe I misread it,
No,
that
it-
might have been
it could
completely
be.
on me.
So that's
Okay,
probably just the money that we paid in being paid out to
okay,
investment company.
okay. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, I move that we approve the account payable vouchers.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. So that's 3 and 1. Donations, again, we always thank the community for the donations. So you have a list of donations. Are there any questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion regarding the donations?
I move we approve the donations.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the 24-25 school year calendar that we had discussed at our last meeting, and we discussed changing a couple of the half-days. Dr. J?
Yeah, Madam President, members of the board and guests, we love the idea, so I did talk to Krista about updating that. I think the staff, everyone agrees that that is a very good idea, so thank you for the idea, and it should be reflected in this document.
Yes, I did.
And there was I believe, one typo that Dr. Rakowski found that Krista,
Was it in that one?
was it in this
No.
one? Oh,
I
it's
thought
it's
it
a different
was
one?
of the
It's
workshops,
later on.
Okay,
Yeah, page
my fault.
158, I
Which I
think.
couldn't find, so we'll fix that. so
Okay,
that
I'll show you
we
later.
actually-
Okay. Yeah. But other than that, I think it's, again, I just want to be clear with our community. After 2 years of a lot of shifting and changing and setting the district hopefully up for future success, we will move to a 3-year calendar. Starting next year is the goal, to bring you a 3-year calendar.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments regarding the school year calendar? Hearing none, I move that we approve the school year calendar.
A second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the 24-25 salary schedule. It's good to see the high school principal will eventually get paid. Are there any questions or comments regarding the salary schedule? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion?
Can I just say,
Yep.
I just want to thank our finance team, Tyler, Alicia while she was here, and Kaylee for their hard work, Chris Alexander, everyone who helped with the salary schedule. This ended up being a really good thing for our teachers. As you can see there, certified is getting a $3,500 increase. So when you take an average salary, there's, let's just use 50,000 there for a minute, you're looking at a 7% increase. And you combine that with, and that's not, I told the teachers you can't do that with your salary because it may not equate to exactly that number. But on average, we're looking at, over the last 2 years now, 10% increase in teacher pay. So I told everyone my goal is to get it to be the highest in the state. We're making strides, and our closest neighbors we're really close to them now. So that is very good.
Thank you. I appreciate the work that goes into that. It's always been a goal while I've been on the board to make sure that even if we couldn't offer huge raises, that there was some sort of raise, because I don't think it's right to just continue at the same pay each year. So. Okay, are there any questions regarding the salary schedule? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion?
I move we approve the salary schedule.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is policy EEB. This is regarding the reimbursement for mileage that will be going with the state mileage. Are there any questions regarding the change in the wording of the policy?
I think it's a good thing that we're going to be the same. It makes a lot more sense.
And I think we have been, we just didn't have the wording
Right.
in the policy. So. Okay. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the update to policy EEB. Oh.
I'll
I
second.
move that we approve the update to policy EEB.
I'll still second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the purchase over $100,000 for ESI, which is our contracted company that we use for substitutes and for employees that have retired but want to come back into their position. You should have gotten the breakdown of what we've paid them up until this point. So are there any questions or comments regarding that?
I'm just going to reiterate, there are no other competitors, correct? We had already verified that there aren't other companies that offer the services or the qualified people that we're looking for, correct?
I don't know any other one. So yes, I was in every district I've worked for here. It's like the most common one. I can check for other ones. That's just the one that we're using before we kind of came on. So I can find other ones. I don't know if
But I do want to share, though, that we create the rate that we pay, for the most part. And we
Okay.
did raise the rate of teacher sub pay for a couple of reasons a year ago. One was to encourage subs to want to work in our district, and we've been very blessed with good subs, dedicated subs that are here sometimes daily. I mean, they really give back. And second, it's a nice benefit to our long-term employees when they finally do retire and they cash out their sick leave and their vacation time. They went from 100 a day to 135. So for people who are retiring now, that equates to a lot more money for them. So it is, in my opinion, a win. I do believe that, again, like Kaylee stated, being in education for 25 years, ESI has been the one recently that I've seen in every district. I think they have the most outreach, the most power to bring people in, and we are very happy with our relationship with them.
With these action items being tonight, is this for this school year or is this for next school year spending?
It's for this school year.
Are we pre-approving next
No,
year?
it's
So
for
is
this
just to
school
wrap
year
up?
because when
Now
we.
we've reached
Right, we've
accumulated
reached that
Okay.
amount, and so in order for that employee to stay employed, we have to approve the spending over 100,000, because we have an employee that retired.
Yes, which
Yeah.
I love that we have that option for people to come and teach through a contracting service. I'm going to vote to approve this tonight, but I would hope that maybe before next year, we look at possibly some other services, just so we can make sure that we keep things competitive.
Sure. When does
Because,
our contract
I'm always
expire with them?
uncomfortable when we haven't found other people.
June 30th, okay, so, yeah, because, and that's the other thing, right now, we're on a contract, we can't change.
Yes.
But Yeah, and we used to have smart schools. When I first came on the board, it was smart schools, and I think they got absorbed by,
Okay.
by
So
ESI.
what we'll pledge to do for you is next year, when we bring, at the beginning of the fiscal year, Kaylee will do a presentation on what she finds on regard to contractors that are out there, okay?
Awesome, thank
All
you.
right,
And
yep.
actually, Kaylee, if you could start doing that in like May, because if their contract expires June 30th, we don't want to like be in July and still trying to make a decision.
I'm
So,
emailing Christina to remind me tomorrow.
okay,
Thank you, Kaylee.
time is of the essence. All right. Are there any other questions regarding the purchase over 100,000 for ESI? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I so move.
I'll second.
Approve it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the purchase over 100,000 for Sierra Academy.
Madam President, members of the board and guests, this is an outside school that we partner with for special ed services. And there is a time where, when we work with families and we work with students, that we may not have the services here in our small district. And at that point, the IEP team will determine an outside placement. Leah Gleason is here tonight if you have any further questions regarding it. But we definitely, being small, we have to use these outside vendors from time to time.
And my question is just that the money that comes for these students comes to us and then we turn around and give it to them?
So the students enroll in our school, and after we've exhausted everything we can do for the student, and their needs are greater than the district can
Right.
handle, then we place them up, so then
But-
we pay the school district.
But we
Right,
do-
but we get the money first from the state.
We may not get all of it, and
Yeah.
we do
Right.
get some reimbursement for cost.
Right.
But I can tell you that one of the things that has hurt our budget this year is contracted special ed services, not only with outside placement, but with teachers that we can't find and aides that we can't find. And so that will be discussed a little further with our budget discussion later tonight.
Right.
So quick question, Leo, you mentioned that we do as much as we can for them here. Does that mean without the Sierra Academy, or are we contracting with them the entire time?
Oh, no, when they're enrolled in our school, of course, we try to provide the services. in
So the
school
special ed
district.
services here,
Yes.
like just through our
And when we've
district?
exhausted
Okay.
everything, and the IEP team determines Sierra Academy.
Exhausted everything as in tried different approaches or exhausted resources?
Different approaches, different supports in the schools.
Okay.
If they need, we tried one-on-one aids in the school, whatever the student may need.
Okay.
And when it's too much for the district to handle, that's the only time we look at other schools.
Okay, and then we outsource them, and then they are like permanently outsourced with
No,
this service, or
they
they?
definitely come back to
Okay.
us. Sometimes it may be a year or two, sometimes it could be permanent, depending on the situation. In large districts, for example, they will have one site typically have those services at that one high school in the district or one middle school, and they will self-fund that themselves. One of the hard parts about that, though, is if you live in a neighborhood school and you want to go to that school, it's sometimes not an option, and you're ending up in a different neighborhood school. It's very similar to here. We just don't have the staffing sometimes to address some of those needs or special needs. So as a result of that, we then partnered with the ACEs or Sierra Academy, and there's a few others out there, and they have that staffing and that skill set to be able to do the things that we can't do. But that is a last effort. Like like she said, we go through many least restrictive environment to get to the point where that is where we have to go there.
And just for your information, when we have the intake meeting at any of these schools, we always set up an exit criteria. So we're always working towards what they need to be successful back in our district. And actually,
Okay.
2 kids have come back this year from
Okay.
different schools. So we're always, and I attend all those IEP meetings, so we're always working towards them returning.
Awesome, thank you.
Are there any other questions regarding the purchases for Sierra Academy? Okay, hearing none, I move that we approve the purchase over 100,000 for Sierra Academy.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the purchase over $100,000 for the Fruth Group. Dr. J?
Yeah, Madam President, members of the board and guests, Chris Alexander's here tonight. If you have specific questions, he's been working closely with the Fruth Group. They were here at the last meeting as well. Like I said in the past, we feel really strongly about where our technology is at the time. We get very few concerns from staff or students or parents about technology, and we have a lot of it. So if you have further questions, Chris is here to answer them.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding the Fruth Group?
This was another one. Did we look at other companies or when we originally
We
procured them?
did originally,
Okay.
and the one that stood out to us was Fruth. Chris reached out to many of their clients and had conversations with them about the service. So that was back in August of my first year here. And we did a lot of research on it, and they were the only one that we really could find to do what we needed to be done. In this RFP, there were multiple other businesses that we sent information out to, and ultimately, my understanding was that the recommendation was to stick with the Fruit Group.
Is Fruth and Visp, were they related in the beginning? Okay, and now they're
Visp
separate?
And Fruth have separated, and so that is why last year Visp was on the contract.
And we saved money by moving to Visp, correct?
Chris can answer that.
I remember, I think it was like $86,000 by consolidating our IT services through
Yes,
Visp.
but that Visp and Fruth were, a year ago, looked at as one and the same.
Mhm.
They were kind of a parent company for them to be on contract. When they kind of broke their separate ways, that's why we had to go through the RFP process.
And so then we had to choose like Visp or Fruth, or
No,
they're separate?
so Visp was part of a co-op.
Okay.
And Fruit fell under the Visp umbrella. When that relationship dissolved, Fruit no longer was part of a co-op. So hence us going out for RFP, going out for bid for these services. Because again, there was no companies on co-op, and so we went out for bid. And again, I think Alicia mentioned this at the last board meeting that multiple companies were reached out to. Fruit was the only one that sent us a bid that could meet our demands, and so we have elected to bring this forward to you tonight.
Okay. So we're still confident that Fruth is
Correct.
the best service? Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Can I ask one more question?
Absolutely.
With our IT costs, like, is this about where we expect to be? Are we spending about what we expect to with Fruth Group, or?
The price went up a little bit, but prices have gone up a little bit
Across the
everywhere,
board.
so, yeah, but I still feel that, I've worked in the district with a district team and now with a outsourced team. And I can tell you that I had a lot of things came to my office as principal regarding tech. The few surveys we've done, the few informal conversations with staff, it's been very positive. You would know, it's kind of in our line of work, when something's not working, you know. And Fruth has been very good, and a special thanks to Jared. I mean, Jared is a one-man show here in the district, and we're going to talk a little more about him later tonight, but he has done an amazing job, and the staff loves him. So it's a good combination we have right now.
And we're able to stay within our budgeted amount for
Yes.
that service with Fruth?
Yes, Chris.
I would say, and I think we kind of touched on this in other meetings, but, and I apologize, I don't have the exact number of our savings, but by going with the Fruit Group as opposed to hiring the necessary staff to do what they do internally, we're actually coming out ahead. We're saving money in that regard when you factor in salaries and benefits. We're coming out ahead by going with an outside third party to provide us our IT services rather than hiring the 5 or 6 or 7 full-time employees that we would need to do what Fruit does.
And do you think that we'll be able to get the same kind of focused attention? Like, will Fruth designate people for our districts similar to the way they have with Tyler? Or?
Yeah, they've been great. I mean, if we have like Chromebook rollouts coming, we can have them send people out to assist with that. During consolidation, several days they sent people out when we were working on different projects and intercoms and things like that.
And
So
that's all part of the contract?
yeah, I believe there is additional costs when we bring them out, but it is very affordable and it's very limited. But when we're talking about network servers and cybersecurity and CIPA compliance, and those are high level things. And so having who we believe is a trusted out, company that has done good work for us. And we don't know everything about that, but we feel that what we've seen and the work that's been done has been high level, so we feel good about it.
Yeah, and it does help when we have a maintained relationship with even
Well,
vendors
and one of
or
the things they have
professionals.
that is new for our staff is they have a helpline, where you can call or email. And that has been very good because they get really quick response rates. And if it's something small, like I can't get my TV to get to the right input, well, that Jared can run down and do that. But on the more technical things, a lot of times they might be able to solve it over the phone or over a couple of emails, so that's been good.
They're also able to remote in to devices. Jared can do the same, but Fruit can too. And there's a lot of things that Jared can handle on his own, but there are some things that need to escalate to, say, engineers and so forth. And Fruit's great about coming out, within a day of any issues that come up that Jared's like, hey, this is a little bit over my scope and I need a little help in solving the issue. So they've been a really good partner with us, and so we don't see that changing moving forward.
Great, thank you.
As I said last time, I appreciate the fact that they're here, not in another state. I think
Well,
that
they
makes a
came to the
difference.
meeting, showed
Yeah.
support, and they've been a very good partner.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, I motion that we approve the purchase to Fruit Group this is for the 23-24 school, no, 24-25 school year.
I second.
Wait, no, so I think this is the 23-24.
Oh.
Yeah.
Starting now.
Oh, starting now,
Yeah.
sorry.
Starting now.
Okay,
And part of that is we went month to month for a while.
Okay.
While we were going through the process, is my understanding.
go back to the date. Hold on. I had moved on from the date.
So you have to vote.
Yeah, I'm not ready yet.
Right.
Just a minute. I just want to make sure that the motion has the correct.
Right. Are we approving the contract? Is that what it is?
Yeah, the award
I
of
think we're-
contract.
Right.
for-
Yeah.
Awarding the contract, but we also need to state that it will be over 100,000.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
So it's the award of so I motion that we award the contract for the fiscal year 23-24 with the purchases to exceed $100,000 for Frith Group.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up are liquidated damages for Mr. Alexander. As you know, we approved his resignation at our last meeting. We had a nice exit interview in executive session, and he is requesting, due to a promotion, that the board waive liquidated damages. Are there any questions or comments?
I'm going to make a comment. I hope you take this as a compliment that I'm going to not vote to approve this simply because I have a really hard time believing that we're going to be fine and dandy without you. I know that you do a lot for us, and I know that you've handled a lot, and so I'm really sad to see you go, and then I was really sad to see that you couldn't finish out the term, which I do understand. And I wish you the best, but I just don't see how there's not going to be some negative impact from losing someone who's done so much. So I hope you take it as a compliment that I feel I can't approve this tonight.
Are there any other questions or comments?
No, I think, if I'm looking correctly at things we're adding for the future, I believe before that anybody in central office did not have to pay damages, unlike the teachers, right?
No.
I can't speak to that. I can share, though, that Mr. Alexander followed every process, expectation along the way as far as being upfront, honest, and has created a very detailed exit plan for his way out. And I am confident that the district for 2 months will be able to pick up that work without it being a detriment to us. He's done a lot of front-end work, and he's a very highly professional man that will not leave the job in bad shape. So I just want to share that.
And getting a promotion is also a condition of having the waiver
Right.
approved. So that is one of the 4 items on the waiver request.
Yes, it is.
It allows for a waiver.
So quick question, with what Lillian said, was this not a policy beforehand that admin was on a contract and needed to?
Because I wasn't here.
Is that commonplace? Because I understand why it's in place for teachers, maybe more so than the admin staff. However, I could see a case being made for all the staff needing to honor their contract and being expected to honor the contract since
I believe the opinion we have is that everyone would kind of fall into this category.
It says professional staff.
Professional staff.
So the district has gone through different levels of this. We've had a fee, then we've not had a fee, then we re-implemented a fee, we've altered the fee, that we've made it staggered. So it just depends on what year it was as to what the policy read. This is our latest policy that it's professional staff, including all certificated employees on contract with the district, teachers, related service providers, administrators, directors, and coordinators. Professional staff does not include at-will employees on work agreements. So, yeah.
And I would share also that the opinion we've received in other cases over the last 2 years has been that if the district is going to replace Mr. Alexander for 2 months, then the liquidated damages, I think you can make a case for that because the district would be losing money. We do not plan to replace him or bring anybody in. Myself and my team will do whatever needs to be done to finish out the year, and I do not see that being a problem for myself or my team for 2 months because of the fact that I know what he's leaving us is pretty much done for the year.
I see that. I guess my hesitation is just that we have this policy in place for a reason. We really, especially with the state of our district, I think we need people to stick it out. And again, I understand your situation, Chris, and so I feel bad, but again, I can't look at people. I have to look at the situation, and in the end, I would expect this person on paper to see through their contract.
But the policy
contract
actually
through.
does state that the board should approve a waiver if they're getting a promotion. So that's what the policy states.
Okay.
So,
GCR,
right.
which was also
Right.
included in your packet.
right. So with
Okay.
relocation, advancement in position, circumstances beyond the control of the employee, or resignation in lieu of a dismissal are the 4 reasons that they would be deserving of a waiver. So,
Okay.
all right. If there's no other questions, I will move that we approve the waiver for Mr. Alexander.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's 3-1. Okay, next up is the Acting Director of Finance. Dr. J, I'll let you explain.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board and guests, I'm so excited to have Craig Rodolfi here tonight. Craig, you want to give a little wave here? So Craig, I met Craig earlier in my term here, and Craig has had a long history of working in finance, including the town of Fountain Hills. Craig has been volunteering in the district this past year to create a lot of new policies. One of the things I found over the last 2 years here is that a lot of times we talk about how we do things, but then we say, well, where's that at? Where's that document? And so between Chris putting a lot of documents together and Craig putting a bunch of finance documents together, he's just been doing an amazing job with that. So when this opening came about, I scheduled some time with Craig, and I asked him if he'd be interested in picking up as becoming our acting director as a contractor to finish out the rest of the year. And Craig said yes, he would do that on a part-time basis, which I believe with spending being cut here in the next couple of weeks, that the load will be a little bit lower. He will have access to Tyler, who will still be overseeing big picture, budget, things of that nature. And I offered Craig a salary for his services. He declined that because he wants to volunteer and do it for free. So I do recommend that we take this amazing man up on his offer to help us get through the year.
I would just like to thank you for volunteering your time. That means the world to the district, and I appreciate everything you're doing for us. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments regarding the acting director of finance?
No,
working for free.
I want to say thank you very much. I find it amazing the amount of volunteers that we get in the district, the donations that we get, all the things that we have accomplished, and it's thanks to everybody in the community. So for negative things that happen, we have a lot of great things that are happening here, and thank you.
I would also like to point out that typically this wouldn't be a board decision. He's technically a volunteer, but because he will have access to our finances, that's why it was brought to the board. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, I motion that we approve using the consultant as acting director of finance through the end of the fiscal year.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Welcome aboard. And now the first task of budget cuts. Welcome aboard. What's your plan? All right, so Dr. J, what's your plan?
All right. Okay. All right. So tonight I have, again, this is just proposed. We're not asking for a vote tonight. We're asking for feedback, questions that you may have regarding proposed budget reductions. Just to give you a little timeline here and rationale behind this. So last year, when we got to the budget, Tyler and I had met, and remember at this time, Alicia was just coming on board, brand new in the position. And Tyler and I met, and he had recommended that we start cutting last year, okay? He did not say you have to cut. He said, I recommend that we start looking at that. At that same time, we had a growth in enrollment last year, as we're aware of, and remember that green 300,000 number showed up at the end of the year, which was nice to see. And we felt that we had some momentum with enrollment. We felt like we were moving in the right direction. We also had consolidation coming up. We felt that some parents were excited about having a K-5 school. I had heard from parents for many years concerns with the 4th and 5th graders being in a middle school. So we decided as a team to kind of do a flat budget last year, which was the idea was we're not going to cut major positions. We still did cut some last year. There was still less than what there was this year. But the idea was try to maybe ride that little bit of momentum. And the other fear you got to look into is when you start cutting positions and then students show up, now you got to go and hire again. And if you do that and you get that wrong, it can really hurt the reputation of the school. And we can't afford that here. We really need to get it right. And we need people to have a great experience, so they tell others that come here, it's a great experience. So we took a few risks there, especially in some of our lower grades, because there were some unknowns. We didn't know how many kindergartners were going to show up. We didn't know how many preschools were going to show up. Remember, in the past, the preschool was kind of capped at a number, and now it's not because there's more space. And so we did end up keeping the vast majority of our staff last year, and we ended up having about a negative of 75 to 80 kids to start with, just from graduated seniors from 2023 to kindergartners coming in. But you don't know that kindergarten number until really the first day of school, because some parents will register that week. We ended up closing that gap. As you saw today, we're at 1173. At the end of last year, we were at 1212. So, it was still a negative number, but it wasn't as big as expected. So we were able to kind of survive this year based on that flat budget. But what really is hurting us is that the senior class this year is like 150. And if kindergarten comes in as it has the last 2 years, which is 50 to 60 kids, so let's say 55 in the middle, that's close to 100 kids that we're going to lose. And although I'm confident we'll get some in, we might get 30, 40 in, but 60 is a big number that we have to look at. Now, I do want to share that my prediction of enrollment is going to, after this coming year, this is the last big, really cliff that is there, because the junior class is much smaller coming up behind the sophomores, freshmen, and eighth graders, and we're kind of leveling out around 75 to 80 per grade level. We'll always have more at the high school because parents can afford to move to Fountain Hills when they're a little further along in their career. We do see more families come at the high school level. So I really do think we've kind of hit rock bottom with enrollment, is the best way to put it, and I think it's going to level out or start to go up from here. The other rationale behind the cuts is we need to be really strong in our compensation to our staff. Fountain Hills is in a very unique position. It's geographically. There's not a lot of people driving through Fountain Hills to go to work. You know, there are some, but a lot of our families leave Fountain Hills, drive through Scottsdale, and go to work. So it's easy to drop kids off at those schools, pick them up. But we're in a very unique place. We're between two major districts with Mesa and Scottsdale. We have a lot of competition. And the only way I feel, just like the coach in me comes out a lot in this job, I got to have great players on the floor if we're going to try to win a championship. And I think the only way we get and retain those great players is through compensation. So we really need to think about, if we want to continue to give raises, we want to continue to support our staff, we need to make some cuts to do that in the future. I'm hoping this will be a one-time reduction. I hope we're not here next year talking about this. That is the hope. We are going a little beyond probably where we have to go with cuts, but the idea behind it is that last year what we found is we made a lot of cuts, and then by the time school started, we had to fill some positions here and there, and it just didn't feel like we made as many cuts as we'd hoped for. And then lastly, the rationale behind these budget cuts is with no bond or override in place, and again, I do not foresee that in the future, and I've been pretty clear about that, how I feel about that. We have to think about how we're going to fix all these buildings, how are we going to fix the issues that are going to come up. Now, currently, as of right now, our buildings are in pretty good shape as of today because we put a lot of work into them over the last year. They look nice, they're fresh, they're clean, lots of new things there. But when you're talking about in the next decade having, let's just say the worst case scenario, $20 million worth of repairs and needs coming, you're not going to get there on $600,000 a year in capital budget. We spend $600,000 a year really watching our spending. So even if we were able to save, say, $100,000 of that, which would be a big number to save, it's still going to take you 5 to 10 years to do any kind of major project. So we need to accelerate that funding in some way, and how Tyler and I have worked this out is if we have these budget cuts in place, we end the year with more M&O money than we need, that carryover can be transferred into capital, those capital projects can start being done, okay? And so that, we'll talk more about that. So I'm gonna walk through each kind of location here in the budget cuts to give you an overview of what is, I guess I would say this would be the recommendation of feedback from board members, feedback from our finance team, feedback from HR, feedback from my cabinet team, and my own feedback, all combined into this. This is kind of where we landed. So district office reductions, we will not be replacing Mr. Alexander's position of Executive Director of Student Services. So that will be eliminated. We have 2 stipends at the district office that can be absorbed somewhere else. One is a PBIS stipend, which again, I think that can go somewhere else. The Title IX coordinator position, we had Kaylee do that. Kaylee believes that one of the other cabinet members would be able to pick that up and take that on without having to do that stipend as part of their compensation package. Little Falcons preschool, we have 1 teacher reduction that is proposed there, and the reason for that is We hired one very late in the summer because we were uncertain of the enrollment. As Leah can attest to, a lot of people show interest, they fill out an interest form, they tell us they're coming, but if they don't show up and pay any money, that enrollment can sometimes go down. My fear was last year is if we had an influx of students at the last minute, and now it's August, mid-August, or even September, and I have to go out and hire a teacher. There's not a lot out there to hire, and I did not want to get that wrong and have a bad experience with our youngest children where they never come back to Fountain Hills School District. So we did hire one extra teacher. I believe at this time there is enough students for them to have a section. Early in the year, they were doing a lot of co-teaching, but they were brand new teachers, so it actually worked out nicely for them. We will absorb this position at McDowell Mountain with openings that are there. Okay? MMES has a lot of support staff and help there, and we believe this is the school that we can make probably the most cuts at. So we had a behavioral analyst early in the year. She did resign earlier in the year. We did not replace that for the year, and we do not intend to replace that moving forward. We had an unfilled teacher position that just never got filled, and we're just not going to fill that moving forward. We had a PE teacher that came in late, and again, this was a decision that we made on enrollment, that we want to make sure we had enough room for specials and our special schedule would work. It did work out that we have a double PE this year, but moving forward, that position, we do not need 2 PE sections at McDowell Mountain. The rest are support staff up front. We have instructional support assistants. We have receptionists. We have multiple receptionists over there, so this is a part-time position, if I'm not mistaken, reduction. We have a parent educator position, and a lot of these can be reabsorbed into open positions through attrition. Just the position itself would not exist at that site any longer. And then the registrar pre-K through 5th grade could also be absorbed into one registrar pre-K through 12 with about 1,100 and say 25 students for next year's our estimate. Fountain Hills Middle School doesn't have really much to cut. They are really kind of there's not much left. And we staffed them that way. They're at 225 last time I checked. We expect that to go down a little bit, probably around 210, hopefully over 200. But the only position there is the SEI position, which we did not fill anyway this year. And we've been able to take care of that through Leah's office. Fountain Hills High School, we have an avid tutor position. That's like $600, but I want to make sure you have that one there. We never filled that one. Media aid, again, we don't have a lot of kids checking out books at the high school. Registrar for 6th grade through 12th grade would be combined into one registrar position, pre-K through 12. And then assistant principal and principal. And I want to explain that. We would have administration at the high school. I just want to explain that. Right now, currently at the high school, we have 5 administrators, high school and middle school combined. They are on the same campus. They are separated into 2 schools, but they do share the same campus footprint. Currently, right now, we have 5 administrators for roughly 600 kids. It might even be a little lower than that. The high school is trending around 385. Middle school is about 225, so we're right around that number. Next year, we project the high school to be around 350, and the element, like I said, the middle school around 2 to 210. So we're talking about 560, 570 at the 2 schools. When I was principal, Fountain Hills High School was 550, and that was in 2016. So we're talking a very high ratio of administration with student count. The idea here would be is that the principal would be shared between the 2 schools. So that's why the principal position would be cut. The principal position would be cut so that one of the 2 principals we have in place now would oversee the high school and middle school, and they would have a dean at each school. The dean would oversee discipline, a lot of day-to-day operation, and the principal would see the big picture instructional leadership piece. To give just a comparison, at Arcadia High School's principal, I had 1,900 kids, about 100 staff members, and I had a team of 4 administrators, 3 assistant principals and myself. In this situation, we would have 3 administrators plus 2 at the district office, myself and a finance director, but 3 on campus for those 600 kids and about 50 staff members, okay? And I'll get more into that switch here in a minute, but I just wanted you to see the cuts first. Facilities reductions via one landscaper, and the RNA night cleaning crew. The cleaning crew, I've had mixed results on. Certain staff members you talk to feel it's wonderful, it's great, and I think it's even certain hallways are really good and certain hallways are bad, and certain campuses are good and certain parts of campuses are not doing well. I've reached out to RNA several times throughout the year. At one point, I gave them a 10-day notice of cancellation. They did meet with me and they did start to show some improvement. It's not as much about, I mean, it is part of it is that I'm not satisfied with them, but it's also we can't afford them any longer. I've met with all of our plant foremans, custodians, maintenance staff. I've shared with them that this is a recommendation tonight. I've shared with them that they're going to move more to cleaning than they would with doing tickets and some of those types of things. How the facility department would work is we created a job that you approved, which would be warehouse and maintenance coordinator. They would oversee a lot of those tickets. Remember, we're talking about really 3 facilities that need to be maintained. And I believe that one person who's working really hard can knock out those tickets for the most part. We would have 1 day custodian or plant foreman at each site and 1 night person at each site. And we may have to add back into this, we'll see how it goes, but we may need to add a 7th custodian to pick up the gym and help with Little Falcons. We thought someone that did the gym and Little Falcons would be a nice setup. The gym gets used a lot for night events, and that is a classroom for our PE teachers, need to be cleaned in the morning, bathrooms cleaned, and those types of things. So reducing RNA is a $382,000 cut right there. We already have 5 custodians on staff, so we'd be adding at least 1, if not 2. So that cut really comes out to about 282, roughly right around there. In technology, we would not fill the director of information technology, which we did not fill this year. We would not fill that again. And the IT support specialist, which was Barrett earlier in the year, he took a job to become a dog trainer, which I was really happy to hear in that state. Barrett, if you're watching, we hope you're doing good. But we do believe that Jared has been able to maintain that. One of the requests that we will be putting forward is to promote Jared to a coordinator position, which would be a 12-month position, and he would be the lone IT person in the district working with the Fruth Group. But he has asked for that opportunity, Mr. Alexander, myself, earlier in the year when Barrett left, to give him a chance to show he could do the work, and I can attest that he's done it at a very high level, and I will bring that recommendation at a later time. Transportation reductions, it'd be just 1 transportation aide. We are in no shape to reduce bus drivers. In fact, if anyone wants to drive buses, see me after. We always need new drivers, but we have a very smooth running transportation department. That department I never hear from, ever. I'm one of the few superintendents that say that. They run smooth, and Ray does a great job down there as our mechanic. John's done a good job overseeing it. Our drivers do great work. It's just that position. So total M&O reductions is $1.2 million. That's about 10% of our budget. And it is a big cut, but the idea behind it is whatever surplus is left at the end of the year, and there are some unknowns. We saw this year special ed contractors, special ed placements. We need an aide in this class, Dr. J, or we can't do this. We need this. There's going to be some asks that come up, and so I need to be prepared to do what needs to be done, but also have enough money cut so that we can have a surplus at the end of the year is the goal, transfer that to capital, and then increase our capital so that we can fix buildings and fix different maintenance issues that we have. So by cutting M&O spending, it will help us build capital. We have already created a facility planning team that has been working most of the year. That's led by Todd Harris, who has done an amazing job. coordinating a lot of the work and consolidation and continues to do that. He's included some other Rotarians and different people in the community that have done this work for their livelihood and are retired in the community that can give us a really good idea of what our priorities are. President Reed asked me to check into doing another maintenance audit to see. The price of those came back very high, and I don't recommend we spend that money on another audit. The cheapest one I saw was $30,000, and I don't feel comfortable moving forward with that. When we have people in the community that do the same work and can do it for free. So that has been done. We would apply to School Facility Board for projects. I can tell you that they are pretty tapped out and plan to be for the next couple of years due to the state budget deficit. But we will continue to apply for that. We'll have to reduce capital spending where we can. We have to balance that, though, with having nice facilities and a welcoming environment and technology pieces and equipment that needs to be done for our teachers to teach at a high level. But there are areas we'll continue to reduce capital spending, and then I will continue my work to fundraise with the community. I've spent a lot of time in our community fundraising. As you all know, we brought in a lot of money in fundraising. And those donors are willing to give more, knowing that we're doing what they want with that money. So with that, that's kind of a plan here. I'm going to review what the next step would be is that we would reorganize our organizational chart. So one of the positions that would be created as part of this cut, going back to the principal position at the high school and middle school, is that we need a finance director in a position here at Fountain Hills that wants to be here, who has shown that they are willing to commute, willing to be here for the long haul, and someone that has the skill set that's required. So as many of you know, my mentor is Patrick Sweeney, and he's been mentoring me for as long as I can remember. I reached out to Dr. Sweeney a while back and said, walk me through when you came in as superintendent in 2015. And when he came in, he needed to hire a finance director. And what he did is he reached out to Rob Allen. Rob was in Paradise Valley where we all worked at the time. Rob was the testing coordinator. That's really what he did. He was the state testing coordinator. So he was good with data, he was good with spreadsheets, he was good at getting tasks done. And he had a high level of professionalism, and that was one of the things that set Dr. Allen apart in these jobs, is he was very high in professionalism. He did not want to let Dr. Sweeney down or you down as a board, so he was going to work whatever it took to get it done. And so we need to fill that position. The problem with the finance director is what they get paid to do that job, and someone at Craig's skill level is beyond what we can pay. It just is. It is a very high number. And we just can't afford to do that. So the plan with this is to promote from within an administrator who I believe can learn the position, who has the professionalism, who has the skill set of task managing, not wanting a to-do list, not wanting to disappoint the board or the superintendent, and is willing to dive in and immerse themselves in that. So the proposal as part of this would be that we would, this would be our organizational chart. The proposal would be to move Mr. Hartman into the finance director and support services position. He would have 4 months from now until July to immerse himself and still run his school, but to immerse himself in other times of his day and outside of school time, to immerse himself in finance with Tyler. Craig here has offered 2 days a week to train. Our partnership with Vail, we'd be able to send him down to work with Vail's finance director. Tyler has shared he would love to have him come out to Higley, and he will come out here. And I do believe that Mr. Hartman has the skills I'm looking for. And one of the things that you notice when you walk into his office, if you've ever been in there, is he has nothing in there. There's no papers, there's nothing in the trash.
Is that a good thing or a bad
There's
thing?
pictures of my kids.
There are kids, but he does not, I don't have to ask him to do things more than once, and that's something I value. He's a professional that will work hard to get that done, and so that is part of my proposal, is that he could take that on. He would also oversee transportation, which needs very little oversight, but still needs someone to evaluate them, be there for them. Same with maintenance, which will need some work with John leaving and new people in there, and then oversee the technology department, which Ruth and Jared in coordinator positions handling that, but everyone needs to have someone to answer to, and we believe he'd be able to take on those roles. So that would be some of what Chris Alexander does, would be looped into this this executive director of finance and support services. Leah Gleason is going to, in this proposal, would be moving back to the district office and continue just to be director of student services. She would still help with the preschool, but we would ask Denise Matus to take over as director of the preschool. And she would do that basically as a teacher on stipend to take on that additional task. And I have spoke with her about if she'd be interested in that, she would be. We also have in here that Kim Wheeldryer, our middle school principal, would be the proposal to move her to principal of high school and middle school to take over there. My feedback on Dr. Wheeldryer's transformation of Fountain Hills Middle School over the last 2 years has been tremendous. I'm on that campus every day, so my office is on the campus. Every time I step out to take a call or walk the campus, I see the classrooms, I see what's going on, and I think they've had a huge transformation. They're heading in the right direction. One of the things I think is important with high school principalship is a knowledge of athletics, and she won a national championship as a coach at GCU in track. She has an athletic background, she has a special ed background, and she has the activity level, if you know her, to be visible on both campuses. These cuts or these reductions in administration would save us $265,000, part of that 1.2. Underneath them, you can see we have to be determined coordinator, to be determined director of transportation. Proposal would be to move Jared into a coordinator position. Have 2 deans, one at the high school, one at the middle school. Elementary would stay the same, a principal and a dean. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you. That's a lot of information for the board to absorb. Does anyone have initial questions to open the discussion?
I have, with us not filling Chris's position, but creating an executive director, business and support services, and having a director of student services, isn't that almost the same as filling his position as well as creating a new one?
It's not, because Leah's already a director at this time. So what we would be doing is, she got a salary increase to take over the preschool last year. We would not reduce salary, but we would give her some of Chris's work to be done. So we'd be basically farming out Chris's position to multiple people. One of those is me, that would be taking on obviously a lot more. But Leah would still be director of SPED. Student services would fall under that SPED. She would oversee expulsion hearings and long-term suspensions, things that Chris does. And some of that work Chris does would go to the other Chris, some of it would come to me. But his job description would be basically farmed out to 3 different people.
Okay. And then, no offense, Chris, but with the finance director position and with all of the issues that we've had with finance and how complicated we are continuously told that it is there a finance background here that I don't know about, or are we able to like?
Chris, so let me give you my rationale behind this. When it comes to hiring, I have a process that I use to hire. I'm very meticulous in that. I also look at what are my realities, right? Okay. So we went through this hiring process in December of last year. Went through it in August. My first got hired. I said no to every finance director that interviewed for the job. We just couldn't hire those people. There's no way. We then opened it again in December. We had 2 applicants, both internal. We ended up going with Alicia. We knew she, much like Chris, she had a payroll background, but outside of that, she was going to be learning the job from the ground up. Alicia did a lot of good work, so I do want to compliment her. She took us from 52 audit findings down to whatever's left. It's a handful. I think the majority of them will be done by the end of the year. The Auditor General has shared with me personally that they are impressed with the work we've been able to do in a short period of time. And some of those audit findings are still tech stuff that we're working with Fruit to get done. So she came a long way in that role, but one of my fears was when we hired her was that, Fountain Hills in her home. Fountain Hills is not somewhere she's been for a long time. And I always was worried that at some point she would go and take her skills to another district, and she has done that, and I wish her the best, and I helped her to get to that level. If you look at this arts district over time, I've shared with this over and over again, turnover hurts us. Turnover. And one of the things I feel is whoever we hire at the rate we can pay, they're going to need training. I just don't believe we can hire someone like Tyler at what we can pay. It's just not going to happen. So I'm looking for someone who wants to be here, someone who's committed, someone who is a member of this community now and can learn the position and take it on. I would not do this if we did not have Tyler's assistance with the big picture, overseeing some of those things that need to be done. And Craig also is volunteered to help with that as well. So we have two very, very qualified people to be overseeing work. But once you start learning it, once you start understanding how things work, it's really a work ethic and professionalism job once you get past that initial knowledge. So a lot of times I used to say when I coached, I can teach anyone to make a left-handed layup, but I can't always teach someone to have the right attitude to be a member of the team. And so I think Chris would be a great addition to overseeing the finance department, his leadership skills, and helping the district continue to move forward with that.
Okay. I appreciate the answer. I do maintain concern about the finance aspect, just because we do see that with turnover, we are constantly dealing with, they're coming in, they're new. And so that's been a reason that we've given our public for the mess that we're in. So I know that we can't really get away from that in this situation. We have to find a new person. Our person left. However, I think that by getting someone that maybe might not be as familiar with finance, we might be putting ourselves in the same situation moving forward. So that's just my big concern. But in the end, the main thing that I think we need to see is your confidence in whoever you choose, because this is a decision that you make. We just support it in the end. So if you're very confident that it...
Well, again, after 2 years of being in this position, what I found is if you look at when I did for the bond, I did a handout of economic impact to Fountain Hills. And if you look at how many of the employees live in our community, how many of the people have stayed through very tough times, that's why we're still being able to be successful, is because those people have stuck. And they've stuck because they want to be in this community. Not everybody wants to be an hour from where they live or travel through a district that pays more. I mean, there's a lot of things. Look at how much turnover there is, not just here, but even at the town. Like, there's a lot of turnover in Parks and Rec. Every time I go to a meeting, I meet somebody new because, again, we had that same thing in Boys and Girls Club for a while until we found Lauren Stratton. And Lauren's done a great job and stayed for the long haul. But I do believe, and Tyler shared with me and Dr. Sweeney both shared with me, that the job can be learned. It's not a deal breaker. And Rob Allen had no finance background when he came in. He was a testing coordinator, but what Rob had is that ability, that work ethic, and he immersed himself in Makisa and Tom Elliott and a bunch of Tim Leedy, people like that. He immersed himself in to learn the job, and he got really good at it in a couple of years. Chris has shared he wants to retire here. He wants to be in Fountain Hills, and we have those people around. I talk to Tim Leedy all the time. I'm sure Tim would be willing to put in some work with him. Rob Allen, I just talked to him last night. He's got a $1,000 donation for us coming in, but he's willing to come and help. Craig's willing to help. Tyler, and our partnership with Vail. A lot of people don't realize our partnership with Vail is not just curriculum, learning design curriculum, it's learning aids, but we have access to their principals, their HR department, we can call them for things that we need help with. And so I think it has to be someone who wants to be here, wants to take it to a high level, and put in the work that needs to be done, and I think they have to have that skill set to do it.
And I agree with you. When Kane and I had a conversation, and it's nothing against Chris, because I probably would have had this conversation no matter who he brought, that how do you put someone in finance that hasn't been in finance? But, you know, as we talked it through and stuff, he's right. I worked with Rob Allen when Rob was the director of finance, and then I worked with him as superintendent when he was still doing finance as a superintendent as well. And I had worked with two other director of finances previous to that, and I didn't work with Tim very long, but Tim was great. But Rob was probably the best director of finance that I'd ever seen in this district, and that we actually, that's how we got our surplus in the capital, was that Rob was very conservative. And when Rob came into that job, our transportation reports and government reports were so far behind. They were years behind. That literally Rob spent the first year of his job here just catching us up on reports. And so it wasn't anything that we got dinged from the auditor. It's not a deficiency like that, but still it was stuff that needed done in order to move forward. And so, you know, the one thing that Rob had was he had the drive, and he, as Kane has said, he was task efficient. And so he had his tasks for the day, and those are the things that he got accomplished. And I think, you know, finance, you know, is teachable, and we do have some great resources. So, you know, if someone is task driven, it probably will work out for them. A lot of our finance is date decided, that, you know, reports have to be done on time, that, you know, spreadsheets have to be, you know, if A plus, you know, B equals C, it's very formula driven. And so if you have that mindset, I think someone could be successful even without that finance background. So.
And I do want to share that one of the biggest things you have to do in that job, because I'm doing it now, but not at the level like Craig or Alicia can, but PO's still got to get done, right? Like, I still have to sign off on things when Craig's not here or we have nobody else. But here's what I do. When I don't know, I pick up the phone and call somebody, okay? I'm not going to take a risk of getting it wrong. Chris calls me about everything he does as a principal, and I love that, because he wants to make sure he gets it right. And one of the things he shared with me is he feels very blessed in his position that Dr. Sweeney had done that job before, Chris Alexander had done that job before, I had done that job before. So he felt very comfortable saying, hey, what would you do in this situation, or how would you handle that? And I think that's why our high school has had it's been a very calm years, because Chris and his team don't make rash decisions and then go back and go, oh, we should have thought about that. We've been training them to think through, like, how does this affect, how can this become a problem? And so I really do believe it comes down to, in this job, more than anything, it comes down to professionalism. That's my biggest thing. It has to be somebody who does not want to let the team down. That's number one, and wants to be in this community, which is a unique geographical location to work in. And so that's my rationale behind it. And there's a lot of opportunity to help. I do watch the money very closely. In my second year here, I've gotten to really get in rhythm with Val and Tammy and Christy about checking things out. And right now, nothing is spent at this point unless I've checked it. I mean, everything, because I will not go below a certain number in capital, and they know that. And if it has to wait, it's going to have to wait until next year, because we have to have that savings available for a rainy day. So I know it's an outside the box idea, but we have to think that way with where we're at with the budget. Remember, this is not capital, so we're not talking about, you know, hey, we spent money here, we spent money there. Okay, these are people, raises, and capital, and other things that are going to come up. We cannot continue to live with the staffing we've had if we're not going to have bonds overrides and M&O overrides and things like that in place. So we're gonna have to make those cuts to be able to do that. I did expect that with the passage of a bond, I did expect that we would be able to not have this deep of cuts, because with the replacement of so much old technology and old equipment, that we might be able to reduce some of that cost that we spend each year. And, but that's just not reality at this time, and we need to move forward, so.
And I told Ken the same thing that you did. Like, it is, who he brings to us is his decision. So if it doesn't work out, he's responsible for that. So I was very clear about that. So, it's no offense to you. I would have said it about anybody.
No offense, more time.
Well, if you had a Falcon shirt on, I probably wouldn't say that, but you have a U of A shirt on, so.
As you're talking about signing and doing things, do we need to change who has to look at things twice? Because Alicia's no longer here.
Yeah, so all of her access has been removed from all accounts. I'm now the primary because Craig's a consultant, Tyler's a consultant, but nothing, I'll have to have our staff, Val and Christy and Tammy come by and speak to how it works in our office. I'm very very paranoid about signing anything. I like to make sure it's double, triple check before I sign off on big things like that. So for example, when we did the Fruit Group last year, I had Tyler's opinion, I had the county's opinion, I had our attorney's opinion, I had another attorney's opinion. I got 4 different opinions on, can we do this? Is this okay? Before we signed off on it. So there are small ones, like if Ray needs some from transportation, I understand that, and I may have a conversation with him, but it's something big that comes through. I just called Ian the other day for $700, and she's like, yeah, but we do need this, Kane. That's okay. I'm just making sure, because again, we're trying to be as on top of it as possible. We need to value our resources and use them correctly. So, but I'm looking at the organizational chart. I'm open to ideas. I did meet with the staff yesterday. I did not want this to be, thrown off guard hearing this tonight. And I did share with them some of the ideas, and I've given them the next 2 weeks to reach out to me if they have concerns, or reach out to me with other ideas. We're not voting on anything tonight. It's just it's a proposal for feedback from all of you. You can send that to me through email or phone conversations. You also speak tonight, however you'd like. But I do want you to know this is just some ideas at this point still.
And are we able to have another discussion meeting on this before moving it forward?
We do need to, time is a little of the essence because the contract's going out. Administrative contracts don't go out until April, so we do have a little bit of time.
Well, I would be interested to see what kind of salaries we're attaching to the new positions and things as well, and what we're looking at as far as all of that.
Yeah, so the executive director is in the salary schedule, so it would be
okay.
in that schedule, yeah. I do think we need to, if it is approved, and how it'll be approved will be through a personnel action item in the future, and then again approved with the budget that you guys will approve at a later time. I do think we need to look at possible compensation for some of the, like for example, Dr. Wheeldryer. Again, we have to keep in mind, yes, it is 2 schools. But the reality is I think over time, if we continue to shrink, it's kind of like we're on a path that at some point, Fountain Hills Middle School and Fountain Hills High School are going to meld more into a junior, senior high school, like when it was built, right? I do like the idea of the middle school being on one side, the high school being on another. I don't think they should have passing periods together. I don't think they should have classes together. But I do feel that they are going to feel like more like one campus over time. And a lot of small districts have the superintendent be a principal. So a lot of these superintendent conferences I go to, they'll introduce themselves as, I'm the principal of this high school and the superintendent. Not trying to give you any ideas here.
I'm writing down some ideas.
It is
Put it out
something, but when you're small, a lot of times you have to take on additional roles. Now again, we don't have to cut that far, But if we want to have a surplus and we want to address the buildings, we want to address future compensation, if we don't, then I think we're back here a year from now talking about, okay, what else do we want to cut? So,
Superintendent says principals.
yeah, maybe, yeah, you don't need a superintendent, that's.
No, I'm
that's
saying,
on the
no, we'd be
table.
talking about a superintendent being a principal as well.
Yeah, then you'd have 2 jobs,
Yeah.
because you don't have enough.
Yes.
So, okay. Yeah, if you have any questions, like Kane said, time is of the essence, just because we are getting late into the season and contracts will have to go out. So if you can email any questions, and then whatever answer, Krista will send it back to the board, but we'll try and bring this back for a discussion item again. It just, eventually, we're going to have to move forward quickly, so.
I am going to share with the community a summary tonight, tomorrow, just to let them understand what this is just a proposal. Does not mean that this is what we're going to end up doing, but I want to also get feedback as much as possible. But we have to really look at the fact, when you look at the Auditor General's report on our district, our administrative costs are higher than our classroom costs, okay? And it's been a nice run of having a lot of assistance, a lot of help, and I appreciated it when I was principal. To have 2 deans when I got there, it did end up being one principal, 1 assistant principal by the time I left. But we were hitting 550 at that time. It was a little bit bigger school. And right now we have a total of 7 administrators for 1,175 kids. Most districts have 1 administrator for every 600 kids is typically the number it works out as. But again, when you have different buildings, different geographical locations, that does require more administration, there's no doubt about that. But I think we've lived a little too long in the administrative realm, and it might be time to push that back a little bit. But again, I'm open to any feedback. I'm just doing what I think is sharing with you the feedback I received from all those different entities so that the community can hear where we're at. Okay?
Okay. Next up, we're going to move on to the job description for the IT coordinator. Dr. J?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, we do believe that we can get by with a coordinator. This would be, if the position is approved, as I mentioned, a proposal would come later to appoint to that position. But I do believe that having one coordinator that's 12-month to help in the summer, to really take those summer months to get things that get backed up or things that need addressed, to especially cleaning up Chromebooks, rebooting them, things of that nature, that having a coordinator position would fit our small district well. So with that, I'll take any questions.
No, I appreciate the work that Jared's done, and I think it's important, even though we're contracted out with the Fruth Group, to have somebody on site. I mean, we still need to have somebody who's familiar with technology, so when it can't be fixed over the phone or through a login, that we have somebody who can go and help in person.
And seeing how he'll be the only one, it's good that he's already here, he knows everything that's going on.
Right. And again, Fountain Hills resident that wants to
Yes.
work here, so that's always a great thing. So, are there any other questions regarding the job description? Hearing none, we're going to move on to the 24-25 contracts. You were provided contracts for each different classification for you to look over. These are pretty standard contracts, but if there are questions, Kaylee is here. I'll wait till Madison. We moved on to contracts. No one had any questions. We just agreed that having at least one person in IT on site would be
Perfect. Thank you.
important. Did you have any questions on the contracts?
No.
No, okay. Anybody else have questions
No,
on contracts?
no.
Thank you for providing those, Katie. Okay, hearing none, the work calendars for 24-25, these are the staff calendars depending on the classification. Dr. J, did you want to share any information?
Nothing major has shifted there, so. No.
Are there?
A change that Dr. Kowski was.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, let me find which one it was here. It's not the first one. There was one that started in 2024, but then advanced to the next year. It was the third one, which is page 158 on my thing here, the third one. It starts out in 2025, but then it goes back to 2024. The left, on the right side, the table.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll take a look at that.
thanks. I am detail-oriented.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, why I caught that, I don't know.
With Judy, so I
Well,
very
it's
much
just-
appreciate that.
yeah.
Are you talking about on where it says Christmas break?
On the right
Yeah,
side,
that's
the
on
important
On
dates,
page
holidays.
159, on important
Is it 159?
holidays.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm looking
okay,
at-
there we go, page
Yeah,
159.
it starts out in July 2025, and then it goes back to
Oh, right.
2024.
Yep, I see that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, are there any other questions regarding the work calendars? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to the supplemental reading book, Unbroken. Dr. J?
Madam President, members of the board and guests, the book has been on display, and I'm just here to answer any questions that you have. The literary committee, for those of you that don't know, any books that come to the board goes through the literary committee in the district. We have English teachers, including our Hall of Famer here, Jean Sunshine, who serves on that, and they really look at, is it fit the curriculum, does it fit the grade level, lexiles, things of that nature, and then they will make a recommendation on behalf of the committee to you for final approval. I don't believe anyone has looked at the book or
No,
has,
I did
or
get a
comments.
few emails.
Okay. Oh, you have? Okay.
In support of the book, like
Okay.
it's the greatest book, and like it makes me want to read it, so.
Okay. But nothing that's come to me that concerns.
Are there questions regarding the book?
I just wanted to say thank you for all the steps that were taken to notify parents of the book so that we know they were given ample opportunity.
Okay, hearing no other questions, we will move on to ESA kids participating in district sports. You've been given the district policy, and then you also have an email from legal counsel. Dr. J, do you want to go over this?
Sure, Madam President, members, of the board, and guests. So the legal guidance here that we received is, and I'll just read this here. The district must allow children who reside within the TENS boundaries and are being homeschooled to try out for interscholastic activities in the same manner as the people who is enrolled in that public school. Parents and guardians who plan to homeschool their children need to file an affidavit with the county school superintendent under ASR 15802B2 or 3 to qualify for ESA under ASR 8152402. Parents and guardians must sign an agreement. One of the terms of that agreement is the parents and guardians will not file an affidavit of intent to homeschool under ARS 15802. CARS 1524002. In other words, all students receiving ESA should be filing an affidavit with the county school superintendent identifying as attending a private school. So that's it kind of his guidance there aligns with our current policy, which is if you're a homeschool student, you can come out and do that. Part of that process is you have to show that affidavit that it is filed. I can say that when I was principal of the high school, I reached out to our homeschool community and met with them frequently and tried to partner with them as best I could. And we offered them to take a class here. We offered one class. Hey, you want to take Spanish? You want to take PE? And a lot of the homeschool kids in that era did take us up on that, and some ended up coming full-time because they really had a great experience and loved it. So I've always been, working with our homeschool community. I will continue to always offer any opportunity they want to meet, to discuss, any way we can partner together to help. But based on what Dave Paoli has shared here, our policy is in alignment with that at this time, and my only concern is if we change our policy, does that goes against legal guidance, and when we go against legal guidance, that is always concerning for me. So that's the research that I have to bring to the table. I'm all about kids and helping them get where they want to be. I'm not trying to be in the way here. I'm just saying that there is that legal agreement there. I also have reached out to some of our districts around. Most of the superintendents I spoke to are not allowing ESA students to participate. My understanding, I do not have a verification of the exact number, but I do believe that Mesa is allowing it, but the cost is, and again, I don't want to be held to this, but I heard it was $2,000 a sport is what they're charging. The only district I am aware of that I'm aware of, doesn't mean there's more, that has approved it is Payson. I'm aware of Payson. I'm a former Longhorn, so I do know that. But we also have to factor in that athletics, as you saw in your options of cutting, option C, we take a loss on athletics. I don't know how bad it is. I can't give you an exact number. But when you factor in coaches, transportation, capital purchases, field maintenance, basketball floor maintenance, insurance, AIA officials, AIA memberships, all those things, we only charge $250, I believe, a sport. And I used to say back when I was young, my kids were young, my kid played Pop Warner, Little League, and Boys and Girls Club basketball. It costs more for that than it would be to play 3 sports in high school. And that was one practice at the park, or screen printed jersey, and no transportation, no real coverage. So we really need to, at some point, we're going to have a conversation about athletics in general. I don't like raising the fee because I think it hurts our numbers and it takes away that opportunity for kids. But I can share, as a parent of 3 in our high school, it was $750 in the fall, it was $750 in the winter, and that didn't include special shoes that the coach wanted to buy, equipment, sweatsuits and all that. So it is very expensive for our parents. I think that needs to be considered in, as well as that when a student who goes to the district plays a sport, yes, they're paying a $250 fee, but we're also getting full funding for those kids, which includes capital and M&O money to support athletics. When we do not have a student come in who goes to our school and we charge the same fee as that, then depending on how many kids come out, it could have a negative impact over time. So those are my concerns. I'm not here to argue against it. I'm not here to say I'm not open for a discussion. I'm just giving you the facts that I have available to me at this time.
Okay, so let's go back. So according to Dave's email, ESA students are not in the same category as a homeschool student.
He is stating that they have to sign they have to sign an agreement. It says that they need to file. It says parents who plan to homeschool their children need to file an affidavit with the county school superintendent. To qualify for ESA, parents and guardians must sign an agreement. One of the terms of that agreement is that parents and guardians will not file an affidavit of intent to homeschool under that law. In other words, all students receiving ESA funds should be filing an affidavit with the school superintendent identifying as attending a private school. That is his.
So yeah, so there are 2 different categories.
Yes.
Right. And currently we allow homeschools, but
They have
not.
to. That's
Right.
Yeah, although I have a lot to say about this, because I first of all, I don't believe that Dave's answer is based on legal precedent. He's interpreting 2 different policies and seeing the way that they could be seen different. However, we could choose to acknowledge ESA students as able to take our sports or to take classes. And besides maybe the argument that athletics loses us money, I don't see one single reason why we wouldn't take money from somebody who wants to use our services,
I'll tell
especially
you
when
why.
it comes to education.
Because if I were a parent and I'm not getting funding from the state, it's going directly to the school, and I have to pay out of pocket for my students to play a sport, I would be really irritated that somebody else got an ESA voucher and that money is going towards sports as opposed to the education that it was supposed to be going to. So
Except for
I
it's
would have an
not-
issue with that.
Except for the money doesn't not go to the school when it would. That student is already not enrolled, so it's not like they're taking money from Fountain Hills. That money's already not in Fountain Hills. Now we have the opportunity to get a portion of that money, and I don't know if there's a way to have, similar to colleges where they have in-state versus out-of-state tuition, is there a way that we can charge more for ESA students because they're not enrolled for athletics and things like that? We should be willing and honestly eager to look at opportunities to bring the ESA students back into our community and say, this is why you should want to be here and be a part of it. I think that honestly, there's really no reason to say no, especially if we can look at some more creative ways to
I think we
maybe.
can look at what other districts have done. I don't think there's many that have. I mean, there may be more that I'm unaware of. But I think the concern I have is that, and again, this is legal opinion, so it's not mine.
But it's not based on legal precedent,
It-
which is
it's
I don't
different.
know how much there is
Can
at
we-
this time.
Well, and can
It
we
has
get
to
a-
be based on legal precedent, or else it doesn't stand. So he can, as an attorney, he can give us his opinion, but it's not legal opinion. There's no such thing as legal opinion. There's legal precedent. He has to have reference to a case where this was proven in order for that to be what we operate off of. This is his opinion, and like I said, he's taking two different things where we could absolutely say, you know what, we don't need to accept ESAs, but I don't understand why we wouldn't look for an opportunity to A, collect money, and B, get a student in our doors and say, yeah, we're welcoming, just like with working with the other preschools in town, why create competition instead of saying, you know what, let's collaborate together. We might need to look at charging ESA students more for athletics because we don't get any funding and the parents have to pay out of pocket. You know, there might be solutions. I think that this answer, I'll be honest, I'm very unimpressed with Dave here. And I think that we should look at new legal counsel because to me, he looked for a way to say no when, in my opinion, we should have been looking for a way to say yes.
And
Can
I
we-
do want to reference, though, if you look at the date, I asked him that question on August 21st. This has nothing to do with it being on your agenda tonight. I was just being proactive on this because I was hearing more and more about ESAs, and I was concerned that we would eventually have this conversation, or we'd have a parent call and say, hey, how does this work? So I was being proactive back in August when I asked that question. And what I just am concerned about, and I'm just looking out for, you know, our district here, is when it says that one of the terms is that you will say you're not going to file an affidavit, and then you end up homeschooling anyway. I don't know enough about that to say that that's okay for us to
Can
be a part of it.
Can we get clarification from the state superintendent's office on the difference between an ESA student, a homeschool student, and if there is an overlap of the two?
Well,
Yeah,
and-
and I think what Madison brought up a good point, I do agree with you, that, you know, there's a difference between opinions and case law reference. I don't know of any case law at this time, so, you know, when it does become a precedent, then you obviously follow that, and I'm sure whatever that precedent was set will be appealed and appealed and appealed until there's a final determination. But again, I'm not here trying to keep anybody out. Like, I had homeschool students play for me. I had foreign exchange students play for me. I'm all about giving kids opportunity. I just, as a district in my role, I have to make sure we're doing it correctly and right. And I don't know that based on that, his opinion here is already in alignment with what we do. So to go against his opinion and go against what we do is a big shift. And the way I've looked at this, when I get legal opinion, and sometimes we have to get 2 or 3 opinions, but when I get that opinion, I tend to not go against the legal opinion. I've also spoken to other superintendents, and they do not have any desire at this time to move forward with ESAs playing sports in their district. Now, again, that's not all superintendents, but those are the ones that I have spoken to. So it is a new issue, just like anything else, and we've got to work through it.
Did any of those superintendents share why they were not going to be accepting it?
I think, and I'll speak based on generalities, I think the biggest issue is funding. You know, let's just say, I know we're not going to get 100 kids to play with an ESA, but let's just say you do. Now if you have multiple teams and multiple bus trips and multiple uniforms and multiple everything, and that fee is not enough to cover it already, it can become a burden on athletics to do it that way. So again, I'm not saying this is from my opinion. I'm not recommending, I'm just giving you facts. I think we need to have a lot of conversation about what we end up doing here with that. We need to get some more opinions and take our time and get it right.
Yeah, I would encourage asking maybe some of the districts that have accepted ESAs what they're doing and how they feel safe doing that, or how they're able to make that work for them. And then I would encourage us to look at opportunities and ways that we could accept this, because when I was talking to Kevin about clubs, that was another thing that I was like, we should get ESA approved. Like I see all of these businesses that's one of the things that they market is that they are ESA approved. If they're at all educationally tied, that's a way that we can not only bring the students in, but bring in some money for our teachers and our district. And so saying no to ESAs off of a really small technicality like this, where they don't file it, so they're not technically.
I'm not saying no, I'm saying this is the legal opinion, and it's in alignment with what we already do.
But again, I mean, I don't like the term legal opinion because his opinion here holds no legality to it. So he can say your policy is good, you're not in danger, but what I'm saying is we are looking at an opportunity to maybe change the policy to include these other students, which would be a good thing for our district and for our community.
There's no legal opinion the other way either, so.
But some districts are doing it, and the whole way that the reason that the ESA program was set up was to give parents options. And one of those options should absolutely still be the public school, unless you guys want that to be a divide between ESAs and public schools. There doesn't need to be that.
But let me ask you, what happens when the private schools come and say, we want our kids to play sports at your public school?
That's right.
Because I've already had that.
You
asked
charge a
already.
not enrolled higher amount that they have to pay. I don't know if that's legal, but that's something to look into. I'm saying
I think
Dave's
it's a
answer
big- it's a
here
big
was
answer.
looking,
Yeah.
I know, Dave's answer here though was looking for a way to say, I mean, he even like boldened not homeschooled, they're not homeschooled. And to me, that was a loophole, an easy way to say no, when I think that we should maybe do the harder look for ways to say
I've
yes.
never looked at an ESA document because I'm not in the program, but is that question, we have to find out, is that question
I
actually
don't know,
on
'cause
the
I'm not
doc-
part of
No,
the
I'm
ESA
not asking
program
the
either.
person, I'm saying, we need to ask someone or get a copy of that and see, is that question in there? If that question's in there, then he's just quoting the actual document. It's not really his opinion any longer, it's the document says that. So if the document changes,
Yes,
then I think we have a different way of looking at it.
I understand, but what this is saying is, there could even be a way that as long as they're not enrolled in another school, they can play for our team, because that would qualify as the ESA students, that as long as they're not enrolled in a private school, they can play for our sports. I think that there's a way to say yes, and like I said,
And I don't see the AIA taking this on either, so.
Well, and my biggest question is, I would like clarification from state superintendent as, if you get ESA vouchers, do you have to send your child to a school, or can you homeschool them yourself?
I find this very
You can homeschool them
interesting because
yourself.
it does say on here.
But according
that
to this, you
students
can't.
receiving
That's what
ESA
that's what I want to
are
know.
not
That's why I would like
homeschooled.
clarification.
Can we ask
We
the
do need
people in the
clarification. No. Well,
Can I just ask them if they filled out the thing that said they did not file an affidavit? Am I able to ask them if they filed an affidavit?
I think, it's your call, I think we can get those answers.
Can you come up to the podium?
Yeah, we're not making any decision
No,
tonight.
no.
Yeah.
but I do find this interesting, this wording, because I didn't know any of this.
I wasn't familiar with that
Okay.
about the ESAs either.
Can you state your name, please?
I'm Renee Johnson.
And Renee, can you tell us, is there a voucher that, or is there an affidavit that you had to fill out stating that you would not homeschool your child?
No.
What does the affidavit say?
If you are a homeschooler in Arizona and you do not accept vouchers, then you're required to fill out an affidavit and that says that you are a homeschooler. If you sign a contract to receive the ESA services, you are required to withdraw that affidavit.
So
So that's
didn't you
exactly what
just
he's
say
saying.
that,
It's withdrawn.
so you
you
cannot get an ESA voucher and homeschool your child? Is that what you're stating?
I think you don't have to register that they're being homeschooled because you have the opportunity to take them other places.
But I'd like her to answer my question.
You
Can you get an
cannot-
ESA voucher and homeschool your child?
Yes.
Okay, so what is the affidavit then? What does it state?
It's so strange.
Can I speak to that? Because I actually filled out the affidavit of
Okay.
homeschooling. So the affidavit of homeschooling is just you putting on record that you are taking on the responsibility of schooling your child. You don't even have to put in where you're schooling them or anything. I think that the reason that there's that, when you said it has to be withdrawn, I think there's just not the requirement of the affidavit of homeschooling because you may be purchasing services through other places. So it's giving you the flexibility of saying it's not required to be homeschooled. In fact, you're likely spending that money on educational services. That's the way I'm thinking it, but we should probably get clarification from
Yeah.
Steve Watson.
It will be Steve
Actually,
Watson. I will I did reach out to him. He did not return my call. He's a very busy man, I get it.
With us.
He's been busy with us.
Yeah.
But I will call him again and get clarification. And again, I just want to be clear that all we're trying to do here in this situation is get it right. I mean, that's a big thing to me is we're going to do something, we need to do it right. We need to make sure we've looked at it in every possible way. And there's definitely going to need to be more information, especially regarding that sentence there, because that is what makes me nervous.
Yeah,
Thank you for answering our question.
thank you.
Can we also find out if there is a way to have non-enrolled athletic and club fees versus enrolled? I don't know
Like
if there's
Mesa.
Yeah,
or
that
what
would
other
be a
schools
board
have done.
decision, I believe. We'll verify with legal counsel and other superintendents, but I believe you have the ability to set that. What you have to be careful of is violating the AIA, number one, which I don't believe this does, as long as they're not. Now, if they attend another school, that can be problematic, okay? But it's really about the, going back to whether or not, you as a board decide you want to set fees at and what that level is going to be set at.
Have we asked the AIA how that plays with a student who is technically not a homeschool student playing for a district?
My
a public
understanding
district?
back in August, when I asked that question, was that Evelyn had reached out, and I believe the response is that, the AI, I don't believe is going to get involved in this. So
Well, can we ask again?
we can ask again. I think their response is going to be if they're not attending another school and they're considered in your definition as a board a homeschool student, I don't think it's going to be an AIA violation. But
I would just like clarification.
I can get clarification. So we'll get clarification from Steve Watson and Jim Dean over at the AIA.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And this, again, was just a discussion item, so it'll come back before the board as we get more information. If you think of further questions, though, because it does take time to get information from the public officials, please send them over to Krista so we can get that information. Future action, we will get an ACT presentation, club policies. Madison, we're just waiting for you to give information to Krista on what you're looking for so our staff can be prepared.
Okay.
I think
Okay, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to go over what our current club policies are and the way that we go about structuring our clubs, because I've received different things. So I would just like
I
to.
just want to throw this out to keep, if we're going to, when we have that discussion, as an option that we have Dave here.
That would be great, but
Because I think Dave can give us, because there are some very strict rules when it comes to student clubs. And I think it'd be great for him to be able to answer those questions from a legal standpoint.
As long as he comes with some legal precedent, that would be great.
Well, those are easier.
The other-
because there's lots of them.
Yeah, well, and the other thing, I would like to request that we have a discussion on our legal counsel and what we're going to do there, as well as Four Peaks and what we're going to do there, because I think with Four Peaks, we're running into a position where we're going to be straddled with 100% of the cost of that building when our vendors leave, and so I think we need to talk about that as soon as possible. Thank you.
that'll
Oh.
probably be towards the end of April, once we get through budget cuts and contracts.
Okay. With that, I move we adjourn.
Okay?
Or, can I say
Yeah,
that?
go ahead.
I move we adjourn.
Oh, we didn't do dates of upcoming meetings. March 20th and
Recall.
April 3rd. We will have a regular business meeting at 6 o'clock here. And actually, March 20th, we're having an executive session. So there will be an executive session on March 25th to go over updated personnel.
March 20th or 25th?
March 20th.
So it's at 5?
At 5 o'clock, yep. And then a regular meeting on April 3rd. Okay, now you can.
With that, I move we adjourn.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, don't anybody leave because you got to sign these documents.
Yeah.
There's also like a conflict of interest statement in here that just says you don't have any relatives working for anybody in the district or contracts that we've awarded,
Okay.
things like that.
Thanks, Lauren. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for